Hey, what's going on, everybody? Rich Perry here with another pre-launch episode of Built on Trust. And today we're going to stream through Facebook once again, to YouTube, and to Twitter. And today we got my man Larunce Pipkin here. So the first two episodes in this pre-launch Built on Trust, it was basically me just doing it by myself. But today I brought in my good friend Larunce Pipkin, and we have a conversation about goals in 2021. So let's bring him in real quick. And this is the pre-launch of Built on Trust, and I'm thinking about next week will be the official launch, and we'll really start moving and grooving. Larunce, how we doing, brother?
Doing great, Rich. Thanks for having me on, man.
Oh, man, I can't wait. I'm excited to have you as my first guest. You're my first unofficial guest, but you're also probably going to be my first guest, as always. So, Larunce, I mean, I know who you are, man. I've known you for years, but real quick, just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do. I know you've written a book or two, and you've got some cool credentials behind your name, so give it to us, my man.
Well, let's see. I guess I'm a modern alchemist. So whenever you feel like a lump of just clay or lead, you come see me and I turn you into gold.
Nice.
Now I'm a coach, hypnotherapist, author with my good friend Rich Perry, and just here with everybody trying to make life a little bit better for all of us and a little bit better for those around us.
Right on. So once again, Larunce, thank you so much for being here, brother. I do appreciate it. For those that are just tuning in, again, this is the pre-launch of Built on Trust. I'm not even promoting it yet. I'm really just learning the buttons, but we're also having some fun while we're doing it, adding some value so that I'm learning what's going on back here, and you're also getting something out of it as well. So I do appreciate you being here. Whether you're watching it on Facebook or you're watching it on YouTube or you're watching it on Twitter, if you're checking us out, throw some likes down there, throw some comments in there. Make sure you share it with a friend, and we're gonna have some fun today. So, Larunce, we are talking about staying on track with your 2021 goals. 2020, holy smokes! Like, I don't even want to talk about it, but we got 2021 now. So are you excited for the new year, Larunce?
I'm excited every day now. I've decided not to be excited in the long term.
Okay.
So one of my resolutions was, not to make year-long resolutions, to go a little smaller, baby steps, and actually just think more about now and tomorrow, and put my goals together in such a way that I don't have to make resolutions. Hopefully I'll be happy with where I end up from where I started.
Right on. So I'm just curious, is there a reason that you said, hey, you know what, like, because you and I have had this conversation before, we've talked about this, like New Year's resolutions, it's get the big hoopla and everyone's talking about it. And, the gyms are packed right now. If you go to the gym, whether it's, well, hopefully your area has the gyms open, but you know what I'm talking about. You go to the gym now and you're waiting online for the treadmill and everything else. And by Valentine's Day, the place is like Deadsville. Was there a defining moment or time or reason or anything like that you said, hey, you know what, like I'm done with New Year's resolutions. I'm just going to focus on the goal itself, rather than getting into the, the sexiness of the New Year's resolution, but just focusing on the goal itself?
Well, I think last year was a big indicator of how we need to change the way that we think about what we think our future is going to be. Mm-hmm. And, I'm just wondering about all those poor people last year who had these great, well thought out New Year's resolutions, and how that just came crashing down to the planet like a Sputnik. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think maybe we should rethink how we plan our resolutions and how we look at the year coming up, and really what the inside part is that's making us make these big resolutions.
Okay. Well, let's jump into that, because I know you've got some good stuff for us, whether we're talking about setting those New Year's resolutions or whether it's just that goal, on January 1st or February 1st or July 1st. Like there's tons of opportunities for us to set goals. So where do we start, Larunce? Like, break it down for us. Give it to us in simple terms. And real quick, before you answer that, I see some people throwing some hearts in there. I see some people throwing the thumbs up. So I do appreciate you guys being here for this unofficial first guest viewing. This is my man, Larunce Pipkin. Throw a comment in there. Let us know where you're from, where you're viewing it on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter. And we'll throw some shout outs in just a moment. But Larunce, jump in there, my man. Where can we start? Break it down for us with goals. What do we need to know?
Well, I think one of the biggest dangers in goals is the expectation that we create.
Okay.
And, half the population are big picture people, and then the other half might be the details people. And one of the problems with being a big picture person, and I'm one of those, is that we have lofty expectations. You see way, way, way down the road, and you see how it's going to be amazing, and you set these expectations, and then things start to go wrong. And when things start to go wrong, all of a sudden that goal, that expectation of reaching that goal, becomes pretty fuzzy.
Okay.
And then we give up on it. A lot of times it's because we haven't realized the disconnect between that expectation and the action that we create.
Okay.
One of the things that we don't give ourselves is flexibility. When you create an expectation of something, it's generally a this or that. And if we've learned anything from 2020, it's to be flexible and to be adaptable. And so when I'm looking at goals now, it's great to have goals. It's great to have those big goals, but then forget about them. Because hopefully you've done a little planning and you know what it takes to get there in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Then let it go, because if it becomes an expectation, then many people don't live up to that standard that they set for themselves. The person that says, well, I'm going to go to the gym 4 days a week and, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life by May. And life starts happening. And the second week, they only make it twice. And the third week, the baby had a blowout and they couldn't make it in. And so they go one day. Mm-hmm. And then they start seeing nothing but little failures. And then they give up. So one way to not give up is to not have expectations.
Okay.
And that might sound a little counterintuitive because we're always taught expect the best, or some people expect the worst. But what you should really be doing is focusing on how you can be flexible and adaptable in getting what you want. One of my favorite quotes is from Lao Tzu, and I've heard you say this many times: the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Mm-hmm. I've been doing a lot of thinking about that, and I think the reason that it's worded that way and not the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the step in the right direction is because sometimes we don't know the direction.
Okay.
That 1,000-mile journey could be a half a mile long, but we have to go 1,000 miles to get there.
That's an interesting point.
Right?
Been doing some reflection.
I'm sure that you've seen, the graph to success. We always think it's this, follow that path to success. When in actuality, what does it look like?
Yeah.
So that again, that's that analogy of that 1,000 miles in one step doesn't necessarily mean that step is always going in that expected direction that you want. Mm-hmm. So how do we figure that out? How do we figure out if we're on track? And that is more important than the expectation of reaching the goal.
Okay.
Because I don't know about you, but growing up, I always thought that I knew what I wanted. And you really don't. It's just a fantasy. I think somebody told me one time, one of God's biggest jokes is when you say, God, look, I know this is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And God, the universe, whatever, thinks that's really funny because we barely know what we want on a day-to-day basis, much less what's going to happen at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So focusing on being able to track what you're doing, I think, is more important than just eyes on the lofty goal.
Okay. All right. And what can we do along the way? Because we're bound to. And I heard you say something about being flexible before, but do you have any tips for us as far as like what can we do when the going gets tough, or we come into those pitfalls and those obstacles along the way, and any dangers and things like that? I mean, these are things that we want, and sometimes it doesn't always go that well for us. So, well, you got a tip for us or something that we can do to overcome those situations?
Well, definitely. Resolutions have everything to do with habits.
Okay.
Right. So what we want to do is we want to create a habit. And when we talk about habits, everybody's like, well, it takes 21 days to develop a habit. It takes 27 days to develop a habit. It takes 30 days to develop a habit. Whatever those days are, we focus again on that expectation of it's going to take me 30 days to develop this habit. And for a lot of people, that's way too long, isn't it? However, 30 days goes by like this sometimes. So what are habits? Habits are nothing more than you becoming unconsciously competent.
Okay.
I can sit down and be unconsciously competent eating a bag of chocolate. And I look up and I'm like, what happened to that bag of chocolate? Right? I was unconsciously competent, wasn't I? So it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good or bad thing, is it? A habit is a habit is a habit. If it serves us, we call it a good habit. If it doesn't, we call it a bad habit. All it really is us being unconsciously competent at something.
Okay.
So if we can understand that we can develop a better rapport with our unconscious mind and our conscious mind, that will help us develop habits. That will give you the clue of if you're on track or not. So what do? How do you start becoming unconsciously competent? You stay present. You stay present with yourself in the moment and with what's going on around you.
Okay.
And that's bridging that gap between what we're unconsciously competent about and what we want to happen. There's a book about always make your bed. It's first thing you should do in the morning when you get up. I guess it was like a drill sergeant or something, or a general did this talk on making your bed.
Okay.
And so people are like, well, what does that have to do with my mindset and my life? Well, it bridges a gap. So if you get up and you make your bed in the morning, no matter what happens throughout the day and all the craziness and all the things that go on, at the end of the day, 12, 16, 18 hours later, when you get ready to go to bed, you look and you're like, hey, I made my bed today. I did something that now makes me feel good. And that bridged that gap between that unconscious competence and you actually feeling good about yourself. So active presence is being able to notice when you can actually feel what's going on with you and then bridge it to another activity. Okay. Or bridge it to another action or another thing to do. So for example, do you want an example?
Oh, I'd love an example.
You have an example?
I think we would all like an example. And real quick, before we get into your example, Larunce, I see some people hopping in here, and I'm not sure if you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube or on Twitter. So if you're watching this right now, just drop your name down there. We'll shout you out. We want to know where you're watching us from, and also please share with a friend. Tag a friend. Let them know what we're doing here today. And if you have any questions for Larunce, drop those in the comments area, and we'll pick out a few cool questions that Larunce can address at the end of this. But Larunce, back to you for an example, sir.
Okay, so being actively present. It's about paying attention to your three brain centers of your body. So your head, your heart, and your gut. I believe that the more connected we are with all of those is what creates what people call authenticity. It's about you really being you. But we don't pay attention always. So if you're going through your day and you have a feeling about something, stop for a moment and be present to that feeling. You know, if you're sitting there binge watching something, and you look down and you're halfway through the bag of chocolate, stop and ask yourself, how does it feel? Where does it feel? You know, you might have some kind of feeling in your chest. Well, then stop and ask yourself, what is that feeling? Chances are it's an emotion. So address that emotion. You know, maybe it's frustration because you're like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this again. Well, don't just leave it at that. Ask yourself, what does that mean to me? What is that emotion trying to tell me? Because active presence means listening to what's going on beneath the skin and then doing something about it. And, you know, we've done a lot of work with the unconscious mind and the conscious mind in the past. And this is how we build rapport with our unconscious mind, by paying attention to it when it knocks on the door. And the door that it's knocking on is your head, your heart, or your gut, right?
Mm-hmm.
So ask it, what's going on? Why am I feeling frustrated? How intense is the frustration? You know, if it's a 6 or 7, say, oh my God, why is it there? You know, and then realize that it's a natural thing. Realize it's part of being human to have these emotions. So acknowledge that emotion, breathe it in, you know, feel that frustration or that anxiety or whatever it is, and then accept it and say, okay, I hear you. And then say, now that I've heard you, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to choose to focus on something positive. And that's the moment that you bridge that unconscious competence to that habit that you were creating. Because at that moment, then you can have the power to take whatever it is and set it aside. Because now you've made an active choice in something that you were doing unconsciously. And that is how you change your habits into the habits that we love rather than the ones that we don't. Questions about that?
I don't have any questions. Let's hop over to the comments, see if anyone has anything over there. I know Jordan hopped in here a little bit ago from Facebook. What's up, Jordan? If you're still in here, what's going on? I don't have any questions, but let's take a minute to do a little shameless plug for Larunce. Oh, where is it? There it is. Larunce, I know for a fact that you, sir, have written a book.
Yes, I have. I have to peek above it.
Real quick, man. Tell us a little bit about Bankroll Your Mind that you and I co-authored. I'm not going to talk about it. You talk about it real quick.
Well, I mean, it was a challenge, especially working with you, because you know, I did all the work and you just sat there and acted pretty. Actually, it was probably the opposite of that without the pretty part for me. But anyway, it's basically what we're talking about now. It's about you know, creating clarity and focus and mastery in your life in anything. And I think one of the things that we talked about in the book is how you can really actively engage yourself, your mind, to get the things that you want. And part of it is just really being hyper aware. You know, a lot data analysis will tell you, hey, numbers don't lie. but they also don't tell the whole story, do they? So in Bankroll Your Mind, we talk about precision and accuracy and what's important about each of those. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about resolutions. Sure, if I don't go to the gym and click the boxes every day, the numbers are going to say I suck.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the real story behind the numbers? Oh, you were diagnosed with clubfoot and you got smashed by a Walmart shopping cart. And there's a story that goes with the reason for those numbers, right? And part of Bankroll Your Mind, I think that I really liked about it is just the fact that we had so many exercises for people to actively engage in some of the stuff that we were talking about.
Very cool. I'd agree with that. And being someone that had a hand in writing some of it, I know that it won some cool awards, and definitely check that out. Available at Amazon. You can go to my website, richperry.com. You can go to laurencepipkin.com and pick that up. So Larunce, I want to thank you for hanging out. Do you have anything coming up that we need to know about real quick? For the folks that are watching this live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, I appreciate you guys being here. Once again, this is the pre-launch Built on Trust video sequence, I guess you might say. It's not really a series yet because I haven't really made it official. I did 2 videos, just me learning the buttons and whatnot, delivering some value, but also familiarizing myself with what's going on with everything on the screen. And today I'm bringing in a guest. We have Larunce Pipkin here, and I'm looking at probably next week or maybe even the following week, but definitely soon will be the official launch of Built on Trust, and we'll actually be doing everything the way that we want to be doing. This is me just familiarizing myself with what's going on, but we're here delivering value for you guys rather than just coming up and chatting while we're drinking coffee or whatever like that. So we hope that you're getting something out of today's video. Feel free to tag a friend. Feel free to share this on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitter. And if you have a question, drop that in the comments area, whether you're watching this live right now or whether you're going to catch the replay later on tonight or tomorrow. If you have a question, drop it in there. I'll be monitoring this. And whenever you drop the question, we'll be sure to address it and get you the answers that you're looking for. Larunce, my man, what do you have coming up? And let's throw up your information real quick. You have a question?
I just make sure it worked.
You wrote that in the private area, not in the comments area.
I can't actually comment.
Why not?
I can't.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, I can private chat with the host and other guests, but
oh, maybe that's what it is. Maybe the private chat is just for us, and the comments. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
See, we're learning something new. Maybe I should have read the tutorial, but I was like, nah.
Well, let's see. The thing that I have coming up is I'm going to be on a show. A good friend of mine, laurencepipkin.com. Actually, if you go to laurencepipkin.com, you can also, if you sign up, put your little name on my little email thing. There's a 5-video series that I did about anxiety and stress and things like that. It's just quite helpful. And let's see, what do I have coming up? I've got a friend that he's amazing at kind of teaching people how to really be authentic in their communication and their modeling of their own excellence. And I'll be a guest on his show. It's called Built on Trust, Live with Rich. So that's coming up.
When you were saying that, in my head, I'm like, damn, whoever he's talking about, I'm like, well, maybe he is talking about me. I'm like, no, I'll let him go. I'm not gonna jump in and act like a jerk. And I'm like, son of a bitch, like whoever he's got, it sounds like this kind of show. I'm like, all right, there's a lot of this going around.
No, that's the only thing I have coming up in the very near future. I'm working on some projects right now that I've had to be flexible with, so as to not derail myself because of expectations. But that's the one thing I just want people to understand is that, you know what, feel free to change who you are every second of the day. You know, if you're doing something, you know, give yourself a break, man. You know, if you weren't the best you 1 second ago, be the best you the next second. You know, it's all about understanding that you deserve the very best in everything, but you have to agree to that. So you have to look at yourself and say, you know, yeah, I do deserve all of that. And don't worry about what happened a second ago. Be the best you every second. You know, that's the wonderful thing about being humans is it's a good and bad thing, right? I mean, we have an imagination, and sometimes our imagination runs away with us and becomes our worst enemy. So use those moments just to be the best you know, and don't judge yourself. You know, habits aren't good or bad. They're just habits. If you've learned something from it, then it's a good thing, isn't it? So we don't really know whether something is good or bad until after it happens. And if we don't fully understand it, it might not be as bad as we thought it was. So, you know, give yourself a little break and be gentle with yourself, just like you are with everyone else.
Right on. Right on. Once again, for
free gift.
Free gift. Again, some free stuff. You know what I'm saying? For the people that tuned in live on Facebook, on YouTube, and Twitter, thank you so much for joining us for the pre-launch Built on Trust. It's going to be a weekly video series where I'm talking to entrepreneurs and business leaders and people that are out there making it happen, that have skills and expertise that they want to share. People just like Larunce who have a wealth of knowledge and they want to share it with you. And also, I'm going to admit, being a little like self-serving because I get to learn with you guys. I mean, while Larunce was talking, he was teaching me, and I'm learning right alongside with you. So this is what we're going to do right here on Built on Trust. And that's that. We're going to broadcast on Facebook, on YouTube, and Twitter. So if you see this, catch the replay, drop a comment. We'll shout you out. We'll get you the answers that you're looking for. Make sure you go to LaruncPipkin.com and sign up for Larunc's free video series. And if you go to my website, richperry.com, there's a gift, free gift for you there as well. And we're going to bring Larunce back for the official launch. That way he can be an official guest and not just a pre-guest, not just a warm-up guest, all right? He's the opening act, but he's also in it as well, all right? So we're going to bring Larunce back once the game starts. Larunce, man, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me, for teaching me more about goal setting and for being a good sport while I learn all these buttons and levers and everything like that. I do appreciate it, brother. And I want to get you back for the launch as well.
Well, thank you, Rich. And, you know, you're doing awesome work. Everything you touch is always so professional and just so full of information and knowledge. You know, if you haven't watched Rich's Daily Minutes, and now he's doing little short or Facebook Lives as well. Awesome stuff. You know, so do yourself a favor and jump on the Rich bandwagon and, you know, learn something. I learn something from him all the time. I always told myself I'd never learn anything from Rich, and he proves me wrong every single day. And I'm glad that he does. So, you know, guys, Rich has got some good stuff going on. He always has awesome guests and just real fun stuff. So I thank you, Rich. Thanks for taking the time to help make people better, man.
Thank you, brother. Folks, once again, thank you for checking out the pre-launch. If you're watching the replay later on, drop a comment. Let us know what's going on. If you have a question, drop that in there. We'll be sure to answer it. If you're catching us on Facebook, on YouTube, or Twitter, be sure to share it. Be sure to retweet it. Get it out there. Share it with someone deserving. Make sure you connect with Larunce. Go to his website. Go to my website. Get a free gift ×2. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, and be excellent. Bye-bye.